Hey guys, how's it going? It's Raab, and I hope you're having an amazing day today. And a special welcome to all my language majors that are out there. And that's because in this video, I'm going to go over the top 10 highest paying jobs for language majors. Now, being bilingual, knowing 2, 3, even 4 languages is an unbelievable advantage in the workplace that a lot of hiring managers and companies are looking for. And in this video, I tried to narrow it down to jobs where knowing a couple of languages, even just 2 languages, really puts you above the competition and allows you to excel in these positions. So I gathered them together and then I found the highest salary for them and sorted by that. So I am going to go from lowest paying to highest paying, 10 to 1. 1 is going to be the highest paying, but I really don't want you to skip to that number 1. And that's because somewhere along the way you may find something else that you're interested in. And salary isn't the most important thing in the world. So I want you to find something that you really enjoy. So without any further ado, let's get into it and let's start talking about the top 10 highest paying jobs for language majors. And if you're new here, my name is Raab. I make videos all about personal finance and the job market. So if you're interested in anything like that, I would love it if you would subscribe. Coming in at number 10 is an account executive, which is going to be making just over $60,000 per year base average salary. And I'm going to say base average salary for these salaries, which is basically the average salary before any bonuses or incentives or anything like that. And do know that all these salaries will fluctuate drastically depending on the company you're working for and where you're working. So take it as a ballpark estimate. So getting into an account executive, this is a very much so relationship-driven business. And what you're going to be in charge here is really customer care and making sure that all the clients or all the customers are happy. So I've worked at a couple of internships where there were account executives, and they do fall under different titles as well. It is kind of a generic name, but you're really in charge of making sure that the customers are getting everything out of the product and making sure that they understand everything. Oftentimes customers can have questions about what's going on, how something works, and you are really the point of contact. So you can see that you really have to be a good people person, a really good speaker, and just good at explaining things. And on top of being this kind of customer service position, you are also going to be in charge of finding new customers and getting new people signed up, and almost this sales position as well. So as you can see, these are very important positions in companies because they foster the relationship with a customer as well as bring in new customers. Coming in at number 9 is a teacher, and this on average is going to be making just over $60,000 per year base average salary. So when I say teacher, of course that's a general, just big term. This salary is particularly pertaining to high school teachers, and as you know, this will fluctuate depending where you are, the school district you're in, the location that you are in as well. So a teacher, this is pretty self-explanatory. If you are a language major, you likely will be teaching that language. So if you are a French major, you'll likely be teaching high school French or anything like that. Now you may be asking about being a professor, or kind of going above and beyond maybe just high school academic level. Oftentimes if you do want to go and become a professor, then you oftentimes have to get your PhD within that specific language or a doctorate degree of some type. I actually used to be a French major. I was a double major in economics and French. I'm now just an econ major, but all the French teachers that I've had, I've studied French for a very long time, and in college they all had PhDs within French. So if you do want to do that, you're likely going to have to get a doctorate degree within the language that you're studying. However, to be a high school teacher, you do not necessarily need that PhD, and you can look at becoming a high school teacher that teaches the language that you're studying. Coming in at number 8, making just under $69,000 per year, is a fashion buyer. Now, this is an interesting position because it blends a lot of business insights with, of course, fashion expertise. So what you're doing here is, think when you go to a store, particularly a store that has a bunch of clothing, a bunch of different brands, well, they just didn't get there by accident. You know, there's not random Ralph Lauren polos over there and maybe Nike shorts here. Nothing is random. A fashion buyer working for the company actually had to pick out, you know, what products are these companies gonna have in stock, because in order to hold stock, it does cost the company money, and they have to decide what they want to bring in. So what you're gonna be doing here is looking at past trends. You know, what is selling at this particular store? Are a lot of these selling? Then you're going to want to restock those. What isn't doing too well? And then you're not going to want to stock those as much. You know, what sizes do you need? You are buying the clothing for these stores. And it's much more than just an analytics thing. I said you also have to know fashion, which is true because you have to understand trends that are going on and what future trends will go on. So if summer is approaching, you know, you can't look back at the winter analytics and decide, oh, maybe we should be stocking this. You have to see what are going to be the trends of the summer and stock those as well. So you have to know a lot about fashion on top of a lot of business insight. Coming at number 7 is a flight attendant, making just under $77,000 per year. So a flight attendant, if you've ever flown on an airplane, you know what these people do, and you've likely interacted with them. These are people that are just in charge of the comfort of everyone on board an aircraft. So they're there for any assistance. They also pass out food and water, and just really anything that the customers of this particular flight may need at that time. Now, if you are someone who likes kind of a crazy, chaotic schedule, then this may be something that you want to look into because there is a whole lot of travel. It does pay really well, and you likely get to meet a lot of interesting people, and you'll just have a very chaotic schedule. So if this is something that you're interested in, then this may be something that you want to look into. Coming at number 6 is an information technology consultant, making just under $79,000 per year. Now, what they do is also in the name. Consultant, if you understand consulting, you know, going and helping out a company in any way that you can. And in this particular instance, it's going to be in regards to information technology. So what you're going to do is you're likely going to go and work with a company for a little while, see what their kind of technology status is, what they're doing, and you're going to see if you can improve it in any way. You know, oftentimes business technologies are rapidly improving businesses, and a lot of times businesses can't really keep up because they don't have people that can always stay exactly up to date on what the newest, most efficient methods are. So what you'll do is you'll get in there and you will understand the technology world of business and implement new systems, information technology systems into this company. So this may be something like a new payment method, or maybe some security system, or anything revolving kind of computers and information technology that will help the company run more efficiently. So if you were at all into technology or anything like that, and especially business, and of course knowing multiple languages will be a major assistance here, because you may go into different restaurants where the owner or a majority of the employees that are also working there may speak a language that you studied. So you can see how this may help. You also have to be a good people person. There's a lot of teaching that goes involved with this, because after you set up all the systems in place, you oftentimes have to teach the manager exactly how it works, so then they can go and explain it to the rest of the employees. Coming in at number 5 is an international sales manager, making just over $79,000 base average salary per year. So an international sales manager is going to be in charge of sales internationally. So in the world that we live in, companies are becoming more and more globalized. And depending where you are, which country you are selling your product in, how you do that and the advertisements, commercials that you run is going to change. So a big international corporation, you know, the Nikes of the world, the Apples of the world, or anyone like that, the advertisements that I see here in the United States are going to be different from the advertisements that you see in other countries. And companies know this. And in order to do that, they have to have international sales managers that understand the globalized world and know how to sell things in other countries. Because the values and what commercials work here will not work in other countries who may value other things or just have different interests and different trends are popular that may not be popular here in the United States. So oftentimes this is also a relationship-driven business, because you're going to be talking with a lot of experts in that area, a lot of salespeople within the area that are experts on that particular country, and this is really helping a lot of companies go global. So if you have a really good international sales manager, then that will drastically just really make your company expand, especially internationally, because your international sales manager is doing such a good job. So from that small description, you can start to see why it's so high paying and why it's so important for companies to get a good international sales manager. Coming in at number 4, making over $80,000 per year, is a marketing manager. Now, this is someone who's going to be in charge of all things marketing for a company and isn't going to be kind of specific to one thing. You know, they're not going to be purely social media, not going to be purely TV ads or anything like that. You see everything, every step of the process. So you are there in the beginning, sitting with a team, brainstorming ideas of how you want to advertise this, you know, what you want the campaign to look like. You are there when the campaign's being created, there with a lot of designers and different people that may be involved in creating these commercials and these campaigns. And then you're also there as it is then being administered and being released, and you're also there at the end to see how it does, looking at the analytics, what did work, what didn't work, how can we improve from there. So as you can see, this of course is a social position, oftentimes more open to people that are a little bit more extroverted, because a lot of times in advertising, in sales, it requires someone who is a little more extroverted, and this is also a very much so relationship-based business in that you're going to want to have good relationships with everyone involved, and marketing as a team has to be one big cohesive group. And from that, whenever you get a big group together and you want them all to work together, you can start to see how knowing another language is helpful, because oftentimes a big enough group, you are going to get some team leaders or employees who do speak your language that you do know as a first language, and it can just really help in it helps with creating a more cohesive group altogether. So if this at all is anything that you're interested in marketing, maybe this is something that you want to check out. Coming in at number 3 is an intelligence operative making just under $87,000 per year. Now, in my research, I saw a couple different titles for this. Intelligence officer was another one. Although there were slight differences, they kind of did the same thing. So an intelligence operative, what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be working for the government. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be really trying to see what threat levels are and really just gaining intelligence about a specific area or a specific group of people. And usually this is going to be an area or a group of people that whatever country you're working for would be at war with. Now, what you're going to be doing is just gaining information for the military. Now, what you can probably start to understand how your language major comes into play here is if you are analyzing an area, a group of people who speak the language that you know, because oftentimes that can make things a whole lot easier than trying to get a script of maybe something that's being said, messages being exchanged, and having to translate that. It's just a lot easier if you do know the language, and if you are a major in the language. I know from French, I was taught a lot of French culture and different things like that. You may know the culture behind the language or just a little bit more about the country and the different values and just what's going on. You'll have a better understanding than people that, you know, have never really studied the language before. So that is a huge bonus, and that does put you a leg up within your competition there. So if this is something that you are interested in, you do want to work for the government, then maybe an intelligence operative is something that you want to look into. Coming in at number 2 is a foreign correspondent making over $87,000 per year. So a foreign correspondent is someone who just tells the stories behind people and countries that are abroad. So for me, I see this a lot with major news organizations. If you ever tune into one of the big news organizations, it's very common for them to go and talk to a foreign correspondent who then is very familiar with the region, oftentimes the politics going on, and they'll either specify on a specific story, they'll tell a story that they've been working on or a story that is developing, or they'll just give an update on the politics of the region. And oftentimes if something goes on in these specific countries where the foreign correspondent is the expert of, then they kind of become front and center for these news organizations. They are their link, they're in that they talk about, they always go to when something happens abroad. So if this is something that you're interested in, maybe you're particularly passionate about or know a lot about a certain country, oftentimes a lot of language majors that I know are actually from the country in question or that we're talking about. So if this is something that you're particularly passionate about, you really enjoy maybe being on camera, or you really enjoy writing. You know, it's not always news organizations in this form of media as far as like showing your face. Oftentimes foreign correspondents can also work for magazines and different things like that. But if you're someone who is very good at articulating, you know, the ongoings of something, you really enjoy telling a story, the journalism aspect of it, and you just are very passionate about something, then this may be something that you want to look into. Coming in at number one is a foreign service officer making just under $89,000 per year. So a foreign service officer is going to be working for the government. So here you'd be working for the United States government. At least that's what this salary is for. And what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be representing the United States in a certain country. So you will have a certain country that you are the representation of the United States there. So in different situations, you're pushing for peace and prosperity for everyone, not only the country that you're working in, but for the United States. You do represent the United States, so oftentimes you will be in negotiations pushing for not only the best scenario outcome, but really advocating for the United States as well. And you oftentimes will be a talking head for the United States and describing a lot of policy issues, usually ones that would pertain to the country that you are familiar with. And this is very common. In a lot of countries, the United States have a foreign service officer that is there on behalf of the United States, and usually there's a team. It's not always just one person out there representing the United States. It's a team that may stay in an embassy or something along those lines that do represent the United States in negotiations and just pushing for peace and prosperity for all countries involved. So that will wrap it up, but there are a few things that I wanted to say. So I have a lot of friends that are language majors, and as I said, I used to be a language major as well. And there's so much more that you can do with these majors. A lot of people that I know that are getting language majors have plans to going and getting some further education degree afterwards. So I know some people that are language majors that plan to go and become a doctor, or oftentimes going into law is very common. You learn a lot of important writing skills whilst in undergrad majors. So there's a whole lot here. You can also go into the medical field, becoming a registered nurse or something like that. So there's a lot that you can do here, and I didn't want to get into all those specificities in these top 10 because I don't like to have a lot of doctorate degrees in these, but there are so many jobs you can get, and this is a very common one. Now, I do want to flip it to you because you likely are a language major or interested in it, or if you have any familiarity with it, I would just like to know, what other recommendations for jobs do you have? You know, did I miss some? Is there one that I should have added or I should have elaborated a little more in this list? Let me know. As I said, this is something that I really enjoy. I used to be a language major, so I'd really love to talk to you guys down in the comments below about just what your thoughts on it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you're new here, my name is Calvin Raab. I make videos all about personal finance and the job market. So if you're interested in anything like that, I would love it if you would subscribe. But that will wrap it up for now. Thank you so much for watching. As always, my name is Calvin Raab, and I'll see you soon. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. So I'm going to move to the corner of your screen here. If you look in the upper left-hand corner, you are going to see my most recent video. And if you look in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see a video that YouTube and I each think that you would like. And if you haven't yet, you can hit my face right here and subscribe. As always, my name is Calvin Raab, and I'll see you soon.